You're our on-camera talent.
Yeah.
He's got the face for it.
No, I've got the face for radio, Mike.
It's not a bird, it's not a plane, it's Superhero Slate. It's a modern podcast where we talk about everything that's great, like movies, TV, superheroes. It's Superhero Slate. Oh yeah.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Superhero Slate, the show where we run down the latest superhero entertainment news.
We love TV, movies, and superheroes, so let's talk it all out.
My name is Chris Dillard.
And my name is Mike Royer.
And this week, we're reviewing Birds of Prey.
Caw-caw!
That's all we're calling it. We're not giving it the long name, okay? Listen to our review and you'll hear why. We're looking at the Infinity Saga deleted scenes that are now online, finally. So you didn't have to spend $500 to watch these, because eventually they were going to hit the internet. We're talking about bringing Sam Raimi right into the MCU, Mike. Plop him down in his own movie here, right? And more.
And more, yeah. Welcome back to Superhero Slate. We're here with another week in news, fresh off of our two-parter of the Super Bowl. Just to give you another two-parter, we just recorded the Birds of Prey spoiler cast, if you will. But it's spoiler-free at the top if you haven't seen the movie yet. But
it is, and it's R-rated. So if you got kids, don't listen. There's some strong language. But yeah,
it's hard to say what the biggest news is this week in my world, but it's got to be that Netflix finally lets us disable the auto playing of trailers. And I foolishly asked you, Chris, if you had had done it, and then I forgot that you just don't have Netflix.
Yeah, no, I get that a lot. Everyone's like, "Oh, it's just on Netflix." I'm like, I don't have it, but I mean, that's not going to stop me from watching it. I just don't have it.
Yeah, Chris has done that to himself. He has found workarounds, if you will. But I have to say, it was like a breath of fresh air. It was really amazing. I found out that they added new little Netflix avatars that you can put on there. I remember when I first did it, they only had like just a couple like standard, like, oh, you can be a guy or a girl or a cowboy with a mustache. There's like maybe like 5 of them.
They look like the Mac Finder faces. Like they weren't like really anything, but they help you differentiate a little bit. Yeah,
but now since you have to go through that kind of dashboard to turn off autoplays, like I've updated my little icons, I've turned off autoplay, so everything feels nice and fresh. I can now just casually browse Netflix for the first time in like a million years. It just feels great. I wasn't expecting it to be such a tonal change, but like I always had so much anxiety on the Netflix page, just like, oh shit, I gotta find something, I gotta go fast, I can't relax, I can't put anything down for a second, or it's gonna start playing this trailer for this show, and then all of a sudden the algorithm is gonna think I'm halfway interested in the show because I watched the trailer 4 times. It's like, no, I just got up to use the bathroom. So
don't they count that if you watch the trailer, you've essentially watched the whole series? Isn't that what they're counting now?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they're juicing the numbers that way. But
the only thing I saw Netflix related this week was actually they have a new mobile codec they're streaming in now for mobile to save on cellular data. Are a lot of people, are you watching on your phone a lot?
Oh gosh, I'm on this weird legacy cell phone plan where I have like a bunch of these like built-in discounts. Like there's like an employee discount on there, and then there's also like these discounts from these other plans. So I have this weird Frankenstein plan where I still have data. Like I don't have unlimited data. I have like maybe like 6 gigs to share a month with my wife. But even when I've looked into possibly like updating it, my data overages are only like an additional, like, I want to say like $10 or $15 a month, which seems like a lot, but whatever plan I would update to would cost me like more than like $20 a month for unlimited data. I'm just like, well, so I don't know. There's always this data calculation I'm making in my head, which isn't the best thing that you want every time you pick up your freaking cell phone.
Is this one of those graphs where it's like cost versus data, and then like where they meet is where your mind is always
Yeah, basically. But to answer your question, no, I don't watch Netflix on my phone unless like I'm in some sort of secluded wilderness where there's just no television available.
Right. And the thing with this codec I did is, I mean, it's called the AV1 codec, and apparently like Amazon, Google, and other companies have been working on this for a while since it's like royalty free. So Netflix is testing it on select devices, but you have to select save data option in some menu somewhere, which I assume is probably where the same menu is you've been playing around with this week. But it drains your battery faster because it's I don't know why. I'm not a tech person, but it drains your battery faster.
I'm guessing there's computing on both sides of the equation then. So usually like when you compress a file or a video, the computer that is doing the exporting is doing all of that compression. It's doing all of the math. So it sounds like now there's math on the phone side as well, which
it's like a compression and like an uncompression probably. Yeah. So if you end up using the same data and you notice your battery's draining, it's probably one of those few titles that's using this codec. So plug yourself into a battery thing or do the smart thing and watch it on a TV instead of your phone. But I understand some people only have their phones. So I'm not here to judge. But what else have you been doing on Netflix this weekend, Mike?
Oh, Chris, what a great segue. I've been watching Lock and Key, which just landed on Netflix, which I forgot was coming so soon. I knew we were in the release window of Lock and Key, so I was surprised to see that it landed. So we picked up the first couple episodes, and we just started running with it. There's 10 episodes in this first season. We just finished episode 7, and I'm having a really fun time. We mentioned a few weeks ago on the podcast that you kind of mainlined a bunch of the graphic novels.
Oh, man, I freebased that whole thing. I put that comic book in a spoon. And just...
So, unfortunately, you haven't got around to watching it yet, so I'm looking forward to see what you think, because I'm just basically going in blind.
What's interesting is, to be honest, where I would normally watch this kind of show, it is not in the top 100 shows for viewing or popularity, which is interesting. So that's why it didn't hit my radar it was out either, because I'm like, no one else is watching this? I don't know, Mike. What do you...
Maybe it'll be something that slowly grows, but I had only seen the trailer for it, and I don't really know exactly what I was expecting, but I had a more of a mature tone in the back of my head. I was kind of maybe, expecting a little bit more, possibly like violence or more super mature themes, but this is TV 14, so maybe kind of dial your brain back to maybe more of a Stranger Things universe when it comes to the maturity. So that's definitely not a detriment to it. That's just kind of like a kind of a position fix that I had to make in my head. So it's like a dark kind of family friendly experience. The house is extra spooky. My wife is very sensitive to scary things, and there were some moments in some of these episodes that kind of like freaked her out a little bit. And some parts that I thought were kind of like unsettling, like, ooh, that's kind of weird the way they're doing that. I like this, but the story's really fun. It's funny that I think his name's Joe Hill has changed his name, so he's not kind of compared to his father. But every time I say his name, I'm just like, the son of Stephen King. You can kind of see where he's kind of gotten his training from, because we kind of are presented with this large mystery, and then as you go through each episode, you start chipping away at the mystery, which is really fun. As soon as you learn something new, there's like a brand new element introduced, and you got to figure out what's going on here. It's all based around these kind of magical keys. Yep. So it's fun to see what happens when characters learn that magic is real, or at least whatever they think this is, if it is magic. Yeah, I'm more curious of just like where this explanation goes, how does all this stuff get solved. It's just a fun time. I'm sufficiently hooked, so I will be watching these last 3 episodes probably today. And
I've heard that there are differentiations between the show and the book, even right out the gate. So if you've read the series, you're probably a fan and you're watching it already. Yeah. But if you don't know which one to go with, just pick one and go with it, and just know that they're not going to be identical shot for shot kind of thing. Like they've made some liberty changes to make it work on a show basis and streaming service.
Yeah. It's a lot to ask of somebody to watch 3 episodes of any hour long show, but there's a whole lot of like setup and tone and mood setting in the very first episode. So if you watch the first episode, you might feel like not much has happened, but the second episode kicks off and things start going, and then the second episode ends on a cliffhanger, picture perfect Netflix style, which will automatically roll you into episode 3. So it's kind of weird to say you'll know if you sure like it after the first 3 episodes, but I would recommend this. This is great. This is fun. You could definitely sit down with like maybe older kids in your family and watch this. Maybe if they're like really really young, it might be a little much for them, but Yeah, I'm digging it.
Okay. All right. Which one's your favorite key so far?
Ooh,
Because you can just say the name of the key. You don't have to say what it does.
Gotcha. If I had to use I think the head key so far has been the most interesting in the show. They've done some kind of cool things with it. Just when you think you know how the key works, a character like does something creative with it. Like, oh, well, if you're taking stuff out, I can put stuff in. I'm like, okay. So I was like, they're doing some really creative things. So far the head key's been really cool.
Yeah, and that one's the one that's been very primarily featured on a lot of the posters and promotional materials for this as well. So I'm glad you're digging it, because otherwise, that'd be a big disappointment all around. Like, oh, this is the one I know about. So doing that. So that's good. That's good. Did you automatically watch the trailers for it, or did you turn that off as well?
Oh, well, I mean, we talked about the trailer a few weeks ago on the show. So I've seen the trailer, but just that one. I went in kind of dark. Iceman from X-Men, he's in it. He's the uncle. I forgot that he was in there. So he pops up every once in a while, and I'm just like, hey, it's Iceman.
yeah. And he also has a twin brother. Are you sure it's Shawn Ashmore? Is it not his brother? Is it?
Oh God, I don't know. I didn't know he had a twin brother.
Yeah.
The cast is great though. They have a very young kid who's playing the younger brother. He's really good. He's a solid actor. So
sweet, cool. Well, we'll do that. Speaking of things, we're gonna jump into our news here, because you know what I went almost totally blind into this week? Birds of Prey.
Oh, okay.
Birds of Prey. I did actually only seen like the one full trailer, and I didn't read any reviews or anything like this before I was able to see it on Saturday. And if me seeing a movie on Saturday tells you anything, that's gonna lead into our spoiler-free review and thoughts here, Mike, if you will. So, do you wanna drop yours first this time as well? Or you want me to? Yeah. Do the opening salvo?
Yeah, I mean, spoiler-free, it's a mixed bag. There's some really great moments in this film that I really liked, that I wish I had more of, and then just some really kind of sloppy choices when it came to the story and just the just stitching the movie together. Like we talk a lot about kind of like the physical kind of creation of the movie in the review, which is a little bit of a letdown, but we think that there might be a hashtag release the blank cut of this film that I think is worth more than the Snyder cut for sure. So me and Chris are split a little bit on whether we could recommend the movie. I think I could recommend the movie, which says a lot, which I think it's effective enough to recommend. Right. You're a little bit more on the other end of it, but we kind of fall along the same lines of what we think about the film.
What we hold up as good points is the same, and what we hold against the movie is about the same. And again, we didn't talk about it going into it. We didn't talk about it going out until we got on the microphone earlier today. So that was usually when we're on the same wavelength, I feel like that's a pretty good indication of what the movie is and how people feel. Like I said, I think it's got. I agree with Mike. Like, there are some highlights. There's some great stuff here, but it is weighted down by some very odd production choices. And we didn't talk about this too much, but the music is just gave me such a headache trying to focus with the music and the rest of the movie. So, but there are some great points, and I would say if you're like you said, Mike recommends a little higher. I'd say if you like Suicide Squad or you're a Harley Quinn fan, you might enjoy this more than the average person. It's doing okay. It's got $34 million opening weekend, for an R-rated film. That's not Joker money. This is more Harley Quinn money, if you will. But it's the lowest DC opening since Jonah Hex in 2010. Did you even see Jonah Hex, Mike?
No, I did not see Jonah Hex.
I did watch it. I don't remember if it was in theaters or not, but I did end up watching it. And then, but it is still making less than Green Lantern from 2011's opening. Ryan Reynolds, he's got star power, and Taika Waititi was in that movie. Both of those have come a long way since then, but I'm not as surprised as doing less than Green Lantern, but I figured it would do more recently with all the positive vibes DC's been getting with all their movies. I thought that this might just bring in more people from that regard, but it doesn't sound like it really is at all here. But that kind of leaves us a question, Mike. I mean, I didn't ask you this. What does the future of Harley Quinn look like? I know she's going to be in the Suicide Squad. Are they going to do a Gotham City Sirens, you think? Where do you see this character?
Yeah, I don't know.
Where would you want to see her go?
Yeah, what is Harley Quinn doing now in the future? Is she just joining teams and then leaving them? Are they going to do like a Wolverine thing here, where Harley Quinn is just in every possible team function in the universe?
Well, her Suicide Squad is kind of like the first Wolverine movie, and this is like the Wolverine, and then she's got to have her third one. So when are we going to get our Harley Quinn trilogy? When's it going to wrap up here?
I tell you what, I can't wait for the Suicide Squad from James Gunn, because it's just going to be it's going to be a great experiment to see what happens when you have a filmmaker who successfully launched a bunch of really great characters and storylines and the entirety of outer space for Marvel. You bring that guy into DC with characters that we've seen before, some that are brand new in a world, and we're going to see what he does. And then we can use that movie as like a comparison to what else DC has done. It's just going to be a really great node when it comes to this history of this new. It's weird to say new wave of superhero movies. The current generation of superhero movies. It's going to be a very interesting experiment. So I'm looking forward to that, because we've slowly been improving with the Suicide Squad world of characters.
Yeah,
I think we could both easily say Harley Quinn and Birds of Prey is better than Suicide Squad 2014. When did that movie come out? I don't remember.
No, we were doing a show. It was like 2016, 2017 even. But I don't remember much of that film.
It seems like we're on an upward trend, but yeah, I totally forgot that Margot is going to be popping up in James Gunn's movie. So I'm curious what he's going to do with the character.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, is he even going to use her, or is it just like a throwaway reference to get Margot Robbie in for a day to
I talk about James Gunn's social media Q&As every once in a while, and I'm remembering a question somebody asked. It said something along the lines of, has Margot Robbie filmed her stuff yet, or does she need to go back in? And he said something along the lines of like, oh, she still has more to film. She hasn't wrapped yet, or something like that. So it sounds like at least there's more than just like she shows up just for a day.
Yeah. I mean, who knows at this point? And then what the quality of that looks like. Maybe that'll be a Harley Quinn that everyone can get behind, kind of thing. Maybe that'll be a thing for her. But I mean, I just they don't have a lot of movies planned out in at DC right now. I mean, what we got? The Suicide Squad, The Batman, Aquaman 2, Shazam 2, Black Adam. What else? Anything else you can think of? Are we missing anything?
I guess
it's hard to think about. Yeah,
like, they don't usually have the State of the Union like Marvel does, where they kind of plant their foot and say, "Here's all of the logos of the movies that are coming out."
God, I wish they would though. Man, that would make it so much easier for us. But that's fine. But yeah, I think that's our thoughts on Birds of Prey and Harley Quinn as a whole. You check out our spoiler-filled review that is definitely R-rated. I'm saying that now because I used strong language at the beginning, and I just want to let everyone know. But it is an R-rated movie, so you should expect that. Anyway, moving along, Mike. This is the first of 3 female-led superhero movies coming out this year, and we have 2 of them on our list here. The other one is Wonder Woman 1984, and we have our first possible look at Kristen Wiig's final form as Cheetah here to look at here. Some art.
Which the studio has been removing. I saw this earlier in the week actually, and then I saw that the link to the tweet has been removed.
That was available when I made the notes earlier this morning.
So luckily there's some like fringe blogs out there that are still kind of carrying the graphic. But I've seen some people like respond on Twitter with like cats gifs, and some people aren't too enthused. But I think it looks fine.
It doesn't look like Kristen Wiig at first glance. I don't know if it's something they do with the nose to make it look more cat-like. But that's throwing me off for a little bit here. It feels more like, what's that? Thundercats? Is that Cheetah?
Oh yeah, it does look a little Thundercats-esque. Yeah, it doesn't bother me. It seems to be in some sort of promotional art because the character's on top of some like 1980s like neon graphics, triangles and stuff like that.
Get your kid the cool folders for when they go back to school.
Yeah, so I'm definitely not rushing to judge like
Yeah.
it seems like some of the internet is. If I was looking at the tweet thread earlier, because you can't see the original tweet anymore, but you can still see the replies. And I don't know if this is official concept art or if this is art somebody else has made. But if you scroll far enough down in the thread, this user named Gabriel shared this really cool. It looks like concept art of Wonder Woman in the gold armor, kind of facing off against a cheetah-esque looking person. I don't know if that's what Kristen Wiig's going to end up looking like, but that scene looks really badass and dynamic. So we'll have to see what the movie ends up looking like.
Yeah, definitely. It says it's digital art. I don't know if that's real or not art, but I mean, I think the only thing that's missing from that, if I could be honest, Mike, is like her lips are still red human color when they're very black in all the other, like the comic book and that art you're saying there.
Yeah, it makes you wonder if like does she have the ability to open up her jaw kind of in a supernatural looking way and then the fangs come down. Yeah, it's just we have a lot of questions to answer here.
Yeah, I think that would be the only thing I would grab is like, you know, if you're gonna go full in, do the black lipstick and mouth things like the other one. But I think that's it is what it is. I mean, I'd rather see it in action, and I think we both agree with that. We've seen artwork and behind the scenes photos that ended up looking completely amazing in the real version that looked awful from an amateur photographer before. So, Black Panther from Civil War to be exact. But yep, that's it. Tonight is the Academy Awards, Mike. Big chance for DC and the Joker to win some awards. I think they had 11 nominations, I believe. So those are tonight at 8 p.m. So we'll cover those results next week. I think what Marvel in-game had visual effects or
I think just visual effects. Usually these superhero movies get things like costume or some sort of sound design or, you know, sound effects.
Something that,
usually
that's aired during the commercials.
Yeah, it's usually a technical award. So I feel like Joaquin is probably going to walk away with best performance. Who knows? The fact that they got all the nominations is enough for them because they can just put all those logos all over the steel box that they're going to sell to people. So yeah, we'll tune in next week and we'll you don't need us to tell you, but you'll hear our reactions.
Yeah, we'll let you know what happened. In New York. But my favorite awards every year, Mike, are the Razzies.
Razzies.
You're familiar with the Razzies. They are the worst of movie awards every year. This year, the 2020 nominations, there's a big list of them all over the place. But for the superhero movies, because we are a superhero podcast, David Harbour is Hellboy for Worst Actor.
These are all nominations.
Yeah. He was one of them. I don't think he, like, we sit on different ends of the thing, but I don't know. Do you think he was a bad Hellboy, or I think the movie around him was worse?
No, the movie around him was bad. David Harbour was. I thought he was a good Hellboy.
Yeah.
But everything, literally everything else, he, was bad.
Yeah. So like that was a surprising one. But I guess if you just say Hellboy, like you have to like, well, you got to put it in there. Jessica Chastain, who played the unnamed lady in Dark Phoenix as the villain, as the worst supporting actress. I stand behind this. I 100% stand behind this nomination for that. And lastly, the Joker was nominated for a Razzie, believe it or not, for the worst reckless disregard for human life and public property. That's
a very strange thing to nominate a movie for, or to explain why it was nominated. Very bizarre.
Yep. So I mean, will it win for that? Probably not. I don't know. I believe Hellboy was also in that one as well. There's multiple categories, but I just went with the first ones that were probably the most standoutish. But Razzies. I think those they had the trailer for the Razzies was the weirdest thing ever. They made it look like a 70s game show, and they announced everything. It was.
I have never seen any promotional material for the Razzies, so I would be interested in watching that. I'll have to go look it up.
I will send you the link later. I tried to, and I was like, I can't even right now. Like this must be, you know, they must have made this like tongue in cheekily to be as bad as the movies that are getting nominated here. But also there was one category I didn't put on here. It's the Razzie Redemption. So actors who've won Razzies before who have done better things this year. And I saw Keanu Reeves on there for John Wick 3 and Toy Story 4.
Hey, so nice.
I thought that was interesting. If you've been online at all this week, past couple of weeks, you may have noticed that the Infinity Saga, that big box set with all the Blu-rays, and it cost $500, and that people were getting theirs and they were arrived dented, or they sat really awkwardly on a coffee table because they couldn't fit on a shelf anywhere, all yada yada. These deleted and bonus scenes are online in different places now. Some of them include like one of my pop vinyls behind me is the Hulk busting out of the Hulkbuster.
Mm-hmm.
They have a kind of a pre-viz effects for that whole scene with dialogue and filming of Mark Ruffalo doing his lines in the Hulkbuster thing where he's like talking to Hulk about coming out, and then like this is where they make the smart Hulk for the first time kind of deal, which was pretty cool. An alternate ending scene for Thor: The Dark World where Odin is like on Earth with Thor at some point, and then they go back and like Thor's like training people how to fight. It's definitely a lot. There's probably 20 plus different things in here.
Yeah, the only thing I've watched is the deleted scene in Thor Ragnarok where you can actually see vestiges of this left over in some of the older trailers for the movie where they first encounter Hela in that like New York alleyway.
Yes.
And Odin is a homeless man, and all of that happens there, which is really interesting because it's like this weird combination of, well, it's a deleted scene, but also it's just different special effects because Loki and Thor transform into like their, Asgardian armor and costumes. But I feel like that's almost the exact same shot, but they just clicked and dragged it to a fjord in in the final movie. So it was interesting to see the decisions that they made there.
Yeah, well, I think one of them that I enjoyed or saw the most of is actually an entire scene cut from Ant-Man and the Wasp, where it's young Hank Pym and young Janet Van Dyne hunting the other guy who blew up. It was Ghost Dad, whatever, who blew up the thing. Like hunting him down in like it looked like Cuba or something like that. And like they have the entire scene shot, and then like they're already de-aged, but they took it out of the movie and didn't even leave it on the deleted scenes. And you get to see some really cool stuff of a team up of a Ant-Man and this version of the Wasp taking people down throughout the whole thing. And it's actually like a 6 to 10 minute scene, so it's a huge part that was done and cut and removed.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I guess they it's interesting how they waited this long and saved all this good stuff. This is really like killing your babies type thing, where it's like when you're making something creative, like sometimes even if it's really good and you spent a lot of money on it, if it's not really supporting the story at large, you got to can it. But we live in a world now, at least, where we can see it again later.
Yeah, exactly. And, if I'd seen that in the movie, I probably wouldn't have cared anyway. So, I'm glad some of these things I'm glad they did take out, or essentially like the Hulk thing, rewrote the entire thing to be no smart Hulk at all in Infinity War. So, take a look at that. Last weekend, we barely got a brief couple of seconds of WandaVision during the Disney Plus Super Bowl spot, right? We recorded like right after, and we were like kind of unveiling things as we did. But on an investors call on Sunday, they've debuted that WandaVision will be on the series in December of this year. So squeaking by at the end of the year, right there under that. But there are apparently, if you take a look at the different breakdowns, there are 6 different times for the show looks. So there's like an I Dream of, or not I Dream of Jeannie. There's I Dream of Jeannie, but there's also I Love Lucy, Full House, what's that, the Brady Bunch kind of thing. Different looks for these shows that are going to be like probably one type of show per episode, I assume. Like
it seems like they're probably starting with like different decades. So there's going to be like the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, and then probably like a modern sitcom, possibly. Maybe something in the 50s. But it seems like if they broke it down by decades, just by when television existed, they pretty much got 6 there.
Yeah. And that I almost guarantee you that's going to be, each episode is going to be designated or dedicated to that time frame. So we won't just get them like in a flash and back and forth all over the place, hopefully. And then there are actually, we talked about this a little bit on the show. There are 2 cribs in the shots, and Wanda is like during the Brady Bunch era, she's like pregnant in one of the shots too. So we're actually getting the kids, Speed and Wiccan. And then if you look behind her in one of the other shots, there's a T and B on the fridge, which are actually the kids' names, Thomas and Billy. So I think these characters are going to be pulled into the Disney Plus MCU by the time this is all said and done. For
well, I guess I guess it just depends on what it means to be in this show, because I mean, if we're transcending different genres of sitcoms, like it doesn't seem like we're doing that with time travel. It seems like we're doing that with some sort of mental cognitive load on Scarlet Witch. Who knows if this she could be in a coma. Who knows? We really don't know exactly what's happening, if it's happening inside of her head, if she's affecting the world around her, if she's like trapped in a bunker, so these kids could be real. They could be figments of her imagination. I just like how there's so much that we don't know about it, which makes me really excited.
There is, in the comic books, she had her kids in an alternate timeline, the House of M, and when they were like destroyed, when that reality was erased, like she had a breakdown and actually used her powers unwilling to bring them to the real world and bring these fake kids to life, which is assuming again that they're gonna, if they follow anything close to that, we are always thrown for a loop, that would be how this ends up happening at the end of it. That's probably the stinger.
That would be really crazy. It would be really cool. Very frustrated to see that it's going to be in December, because if we're looking at 6 episodes here, I suppose it could premiere with 2 episodes, kind of maybe the way Mandalorian did it. Who knows if that's going to be the way that they're moving forward. But that means I always have to travel for the holidays, or to go see family. So that means I'm going to have to at least watch 1 or 2 of these episodes like on my phone or iPad. Which
thank God they had that new streaming codec we talked about at the top of the show, Mike, and you can reduce that data. But lastly, there is one scene. I think someone saw Wanda's mouth moving, or maybe she said this. I couldn't find the exact source, but like she says Vision residence. So is her last name Vision? Hence the title WandaVision.
Oh, I see. Wow, they're really playing a lot on that title there.
Yeah, like the title makes a lot more sense now if you think of it in that regard. Like that's her name, WandaVision. Like Wanda, first name, Vision, last name. But I don't know if that's how that's going to work. But that's when she says Vision residence, I'm like, oh, that's a last name.
I'm starting to get the feeling that Vision is actually dead. If we have to take bets before the show comes out, I feel like he's dead. He's gone. He can't come back, and this is causing all of her anguish. Mm-hmm. But that's where I'm going. I
think there's someone at play here who is, I don't know, maybe promised her something, but like at what cost? Like, oh, you can be with Vision again, but like the cost is like it's in your
Darth Sidious. He's crossed over franchises.
I wouldn't go that far.
They own him. He can do it.
Was it Nightmare? I think is rumored to be one of the villains of Doctor Strange, and Wanda is going to be in Doctor Strange right now. So it could be that. I don't know. We'll have to see. But we got till December to figure it out. So they moved it up from 2021 to 2020. So we'll get 2 shows this year. Also, another show at the end of that trailer teaser we got last week is Loki. Loki, some big news we didn't get to talk about last week much, but Owen Wilson has joined in a large role for this show, for the Loki show, which, if anything, wow.
Wow.
Which
we like Owen Wilson. I like Owen Wilson.
Yeah, we do. I definitely agree. So, I mean, I think that'd be an interesting... And we get an actor to bring into the show, to the MCU, and put him in the Loki show. But is he going to tie into this next bit of news I shared with you? That on Loki's jacket, he's in like a jumpsuit. I thought it said TW for the longest time, but if you look closely, it's actually TVA on his jacket, which is the Time Variance Authority, which was introduced in the Thor comic book, I think in the 70s or 80s. And they are an interdimensional agency designed to maintain the boundaries between alternate realities.
Time cops.
They are essentially time cops. And this is confirming that Loki will be maybe time traveling or causing alternate realities to exist. And that they will be essentially going back and either erasing them or fixing them in the show. Meaning he can idea. Bounce around and do whatever.
I'm curious how they'll pull it off, but that's one thing I actually really liked about the Flash TV show is when the Flash starts like going back in time to start changing things. There's like these specters that kind of come through the Speed Force. They're like Speed Force ghosts. I don't know exactly what they call, but they kind of look like Dementors. Yeah, and they're chasing him, and I always thought that was like a cool idea of like there should be ramifications. You can't just go back in time. Something should be trying to stop you because it just seems unnatural. So who knows if these are going to be actually people? Will they look like aliens? Are they going to be? Is it going to be like a federal service that exists that anybody can just like apply to?
I assume it's going to be kind of something like Men in Black, but for time stuff. And maybe Owen Wilson is a agent in the TVA and is either working with Loki to fix all these things or something like that. Like he looks. You put Owen Wilson in a business suit. He looks like someone who'd be like, yeah, I gotta go fix all this stuff for the big guys upstairs, whoever those are. I don't know. Maybe Kang is involved in this at some point. Kang's always time traveling around, causing alternate realities.
This we're really blowing up the MCU right now. We're adding like so much. We're adding dimensions. We're adding like time cops. Yeah. We're expanding on space. The Eternals are really gonna shake things up a bit. This is about to blow wide open.
What I would love is in one of my favorite Fantastic Four runs, there's introduced called the Council of Reeds. And this may sound familiar to you, Mike, because Rick and Morty did this
the Council of Ricks
10 years later with the Council of Ricks. It's identically from the comic, where there are Reed Richards who have all come together to like pool their knowledge and resources to keep their universes safe based on all that stuff. So having all these different universes, is this a way to introduce the Council of Reeds down the road in a Fantastic Four thing? Because that story that the Council of Reeds was written by the guy who essentially created the Infinity War and the Endgame kind of arcs and characters. So they like to pull his stories for the movies. So
well, my favorite specialized law enforcements from film are the vegan cops from Scott Pilgrim. So if it's anything along the lines of the vegan cops that show up with their finger guns, I'll be very excited.
Well, there you go. They came after Superman, didn't they?
Yeah, they came right after him.
Right after Brandon Routh.
Chicken's not vegan?
No, it's not. Also, there's a rumor Jamie Alexander said she's been keeping her sword skills in for something coming up in the future. So there's possible that Sif could be in this series as well. If not, maybe Thor, Love and Thunder.
Yeah, I feel like you gotta put her in Love and Thunder, right? Because it's gonna be all about like love, and she's the only like love interest that we've seen in the past before. So.
Right. Well, and then like. Yeah. You gotta bring Sif back. You cut her out for like the last 3 movies Thor was in, so bring her back. Throw Jamie Alexander a bone. She's out there doing Blind Spot or something, and
I think Blind Spot's wrapped up.
Yeah, it's done.
Their last season's coming up or something.
You put her in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., make it up to her, okay? Just give her something good here.
Yeah.
Don't kill her off right away either. Maybe she could be a Valkyrie. Because Valkyrie is creating the Valkyries again.
Well, if you look at it this way, she was spared because if she would have been in Thor Ragnarok, she probably would have died in the blink of an eye like the rest of Thor's friends.
Oh, that's true. But they were all he blew up the ship. They weren't snapped in the thing because the Asgards really got her up. They got their ship blown up and then they got snapped in half like an hour later. So
yeah, Sif, what have you been up to? Where have you gone?
Where you been? What's up? Also, in the first part of that trailer last week, we saw was Falcon and Winter Soldier, and on the investor calls they said it will be debuting this August. Mike,
solid.
That's a good way to kick off the end of summer, if you will.
If you're looking for something to watch until August, I finally finished the Imagineering 6-part documentary on Disney Plus. So yeah, that's cool. It makes me want to go to these other Disneyland parks around the world because all of the other parks have these like badass rides. Like I really want to ride the Tron and the souped up Pirates of the Caribbean ride in Shanghai.
Is that the one that goes underwater?
Yeah, the Tokyo Disney one has like this crazy looking haunted mansion that I want to do.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, the Marvel one opens up this summer in California, doesn't it?
Have you been seeing there's been some people sharing that these Marvel parks that they're trying to do like a Spider-Man drone. I don't know how they're going to do it, but it's like a Spider-Man that flies, but while this object of Spider-Man is flying, he moves so it looks like he's web slinging. So I'm like, how are they doing this? This is going to be nuts.
Well, on the Imagineering episodes, didn't they show how they made that robot backflip and land in the net?
Yeah, I'm not
that.
sure if that's the same thing, because the thing I saw, it looked like it was smaller. So I was thinking they were doing like forced perspective. Oh, if it's far away enough, we can make it like 2 feet tall, and it looks like it's a full Spider-Man. But yeah, that's what I was thinking when I saw that robotic mannequin that they were catapulting into the air. I was like, oh, I wonder if they'll set that up behind like a bunch of stuff, and then you'll just be walking through the park, and like every 10 minutes you'll see this gigantic robotic mannequin like fly through the sky and then disappear behind a different building.
Yeah, I think it's going to be something like that. But I mean, I'm excited. I'm to see what comes out of the Marvel stuff. But but yeah, Falcon and Winter Soldier, August, probably maybe around the time that Disney Park opens. Maybe that's what they're going for there. So synergy. Speaking of Marvel on Disney Plus, on this investor call, again, this is when an investor call happens, we get a lot of news, whether they like it or not. Bob Iger has confirmed that there are 10 Marvel shows in development on Disney Plus.
Uh-oh, Bob, did you count what's been announced?
So far there is WandaVision, Loki, Falcon and Winter Soldier. We've talked about those. We also have She-Hulk, Moon Knight, Miss Marvel, Hawkeye, and the What If show. How many does that make?
That's 8, Chris.
8. So are there 2 more shows we don't know about?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like if it's in development, who knows? There could be like I don't want to say throwaway content, but it could be another one of those like documentary style things where it's just like we're looking at the production of it, or it's just like, oh, here's what's going to happen in the next couple years of Marvel, and we cut together the things that they used to air on like ABC, of like the special look where you first got a reveal of like some concept art or stuff like that. So that could be one of them, but that's 2. That's 2 slots they gotta fill. What could the other one be? Maybe it's both 2 shows.
Yeah, I think there are. In fact, I think there are 2 like the Stanley Hero Project style shows. Maybe is my fear is that he's counting these that we already know about. I think there's that one, and then was it like the Kid Marvels, like the ones who get like the robotic arms and stuff like that as well.
Yeah,
I think that's what we're missing here. But I mean, if there are to announce 2 other actual MCU-based shows, what would they be? What would you put in there?
I feel like the thing you lean into first is possibly your next Iron Man replacement. Whether that's Ironheart or it's some other way to bring the armor back, like maybe it's like a War Machine show or something. I feel like there's going to be a gap there for sure when it comes to that kind of tech that we're going to want to see again. So I would lean into that direction. But what about the other one? If I'm pitching the Iron Man show to Iger for development, what's the second show?
I'm actually going to go with a team up show, Mike. I'm going to say all these shows look like they're bringing in the Young Avengers. So your next show is actually combining these into a Young Avengers style show. Sure, you could give them a movie, but like that's a lot to ask just to bring all the TV characters into a movie. But if you give them a team up, here's the Young Avengers. Hey, Phase 4 for Disney Plus, has actually been leading up to something big. That would be the big surprise. I think that we're not expecting to get. So you have your Speed, your Wiccan. This would be a good chance for you to bring in, like you said, Ironheart, Kate Bishop, whoever they can in there. Maybe the end of it teases Miles Morales. I don't know, but maybe that's a good one to do it.
Maybe in that deal that Disney struck with Sony a few months back, maybe it could bring Spider-Man into it. I mean, that's a hell of a crossover to get people to watch it. But it seems like they're going to have a better chance of pulling something off than Netflix did with The Defenders, because unfortunately that did not go the way everyone wanted it to go. But yeah, I think at least one of those being a team-up makes sense, because we got to culminate to something, right? Whether it's in the MCU landscape or the Disney Plus landscape, they've already said these characters will transcend both screen and television. So
yeah, and
it makes sense.
You want to wash that Defenders taste out of your mouth? You do a really good show on Disney Plus. So just proving. I think that's the opportunity here. However, again, I still feel like maybe one of those shows is probably one of those that we mentioned. That's just like a could be Ghost Rider documentary. I don't think they're going to pick that one up. But, Ghost Rider could be a great secret character in Doctor Strange if they're dealing with, hellscapes and other dimensions. So,
or they could be like maybe slow rolling a mutant into the equation. Maybe we meet our very first mutant in a Disney Plus show, and then that launches the
New Mutants, the TV show. is what you're saying here.
Ooh, well, we got to get the movie out of the way first.
Yeah. Well, it'll be here and out of the way before you know it. Speaking of those characters, Hawkeye, apparently Disney is tired of waiting around for Haley Steinfeld to become available, so they're looking at other options to play Kate Bishop for this show. I don't. Does it matter? I don't know.
We both loved her in Bumblebee. I think she'd be a great pick. She even kind of looks the role, but it'd be a bummer if she can't do it.
Yeah, but like, do you try to wait for her or like see how expensive is Haley Steinfeld, in a year versus when we could have just got someone else and made him Kate Bishop and built them up, because Marvel's good at taking actors you don't normally know, or somebody who's done some small good indie work and making them popular household names.
And the Transformers universe could be waving a lot of money in her face, because I know they're trying to rework that universe over there. So they could be like, well, yeah, you could go to Disney Plus, but we got all this Transformers money.
That's right. China loves the Transformers. We got their money right here. We're gonna do a Beast Wars. Come on, be in our Beast Wars. She probably won't be, but I still like to watch Beast Wars. But that's fine. As long as they start filming the show and making Hawkeye, that's what I want to see. I want to see them start putting these shows in production. I don't want to wait around forever, because that's the worst part. Because these shows, technically, other than the ones we announced earlier, don't have any release dates. They can put them up whenever they want them to.
Yeah, I have a feeling it's going to be on a quarterly basis, but we still got to wait. We got to wait. We're going to be much older before we see some of these.
Yeah, well, we're not getting younger, so that's true. That's true. Speaking of series, I wouldn't say quarterly, but for this franchise, but more yearly, as The Mandalorian, the season 2 is coming in October of 2020. Mike, so is that earlier than this year was? Because this year was
it was when the streaming service launched in November. So I'm okay with this, because that means I'll be able to finish it before I have to go do holiday travel. So this is exactly what I wanted. So I'm down.
So it sounds
down to clown.
Well, it sounds like what we talked about earlier. They're literally leading one show into another with a couple weeks in between. So Falcon and Winter Soldier, a couple weeks off. Mandalorian, a couple weeks off. WandaVision. So I think that's what we're going to be seeing for these big tent poles, Mike. High School Musical, the musical, the series, whatever it is, ad nauseum. It's probably not going to fill that void for us, Mike. I'm sorry.
Probably not.
No. Some of the biggest news here that sent me down a rabbit hole earlier, I was telling Mike this earlier, the new cast and crew logo, alternate logo for Eternals, has spotted on Twitter and around the world here. I like this little Eternals thing. It looks like a clock, but I'm sure it'll have more meaning whenever the show comes out.
Yeah, let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, we're already past the calendar. 13, 14, 15, 16. Is that 17 little icons?
17 icons, my friend.
Who knows what they are? I'm sure there's some nerds, including you out there, that know a little bit more about all of those things than I do.
I would guess that they are, in fact, Celestials. Each symbol represents a Celestial. Because there are a lot of Celestials at some point. Maybe not. I don't know. What is the circle with the lines through it? What does this mean? Is this a gear?
Yeah, it looks like is it orbits or those planets that are in the middle there? Questions. So many questions.
Yeah. I'm excited. I mean, we gotta wait. We got a while. We gotta wait till November for this thing. So I mean, we are ways out, and people want that shirtless Kumail Nanjiani. They've seen it. They want to go watch it in the movie now. So I mean, get ready to get your tickets for this.
Kumail's dad put his shirtless son's body on a pair of socks. So
yep, they're having some fun with that. But that's I did not know they were still making these hats from the Kevin Feige collection. And I'm a big collector of those. I've been sleeping on them. I missed a couple, Mike. I got to go back and find them now. So, But now give me an Eternals hat, add it to the collection. Big hat guy. Big hat guy. But I still have all my hair. Sorry, Kevin. But Thor: Love and Thunder, Christian Bale has joined the cast, and he's rumored to play a space villain in this movie, Mike.
Space villain. So, you brought up a really good point a few weeks ago when he was rumored to be in the film, that probably not going to be Beta Ray Bill, just because you don't hire a guy like Christian Bale and hide his face. He's not just going to be a voice actor, so hopefully we'll still be getting him. We'll be getting that weird horseman. But a villain. He'd be a great villain.
He'd be a great villain, and I think they're going to use FaceTime. I've heard that he's going to look interstellar, I guess, a little bit. Is the description of his character, and I don't know what that means because that's very vague. But my theory right now is a big character in one of the more recent Thor runs called Gore the God Butcher. And Gore the God Butcher, his whole point was to go around and essentially kill anyone who is considered a deity to other cultures. And he had this big black sword called the Necro Sword.
Oh, that sounds so badass.
Yeah, the Necro Sword is actually the sword that cleaved the head of Nowhere, the Celestial. Like, that's how powerful it is. That the sword we found out later is actually part of the Venom race, hence why it's all black and like it's very, very powerful. I think it's made by the race. It's not a venom in and of itself, but like it's made by that kind of the power of those creatures or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. But then also he was trying to create what's called the God Bomb. It's essentially
all of this sounds so cool. If you put God in front of like any sort of like a metal word, like God Bomb, God Butcher, Necro Sword, oh, man, that all sounds so cool.
We're getting hyped for this, and I could totally see Taika Waititi leaning into this a little bit here. But this bomb essentially destroys anyone who was a god that did exist or ever would exist. Like it went through all of time, kind of thing.
Wow.
So I could definitely see them leaning into this for the 11th, and also bringing in a new person, Natalie Portman, to play the Thor character. So I don't know. I mean, Christian Bale is an evil. We haven't seen him as a villain in a while, have we? Since what American
Psycho?
Psycho, yeah.
Very, very iconic villain. So we used to see him as Batman, and now he'll be in Marvel.
Mm-hmm. We've had like 8 Batman since then, anyway, so it's fine. And just as many Jokers since he was in there. So, but yeah, I think it's cool. So if you guys ever look up Gore the God Butcher, I recommend that series. I actually really, really did enjoy that run. What I think this is the biggest news this week, Mike. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm sorry I saved it till later in the episode, but this really blew me off my feet here. For Thor or Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, Sam Raimi is in talks to direct this film.
Woo! So I went back and I listened to a segment from one of our previous shows when what was it? Scott Dickerson? Is that his name?
Scott Dickinson, yeah.
Yeah, who was going to direct this movie when he dropped out, and I was listening to our chatter, and we were talking about how we would like to see maybe somebody with some name recognition to come in to kind of soothe the worried masses. And I kind of brought up the idea of possibly like a Guillermo del Toro, somebody with like a vision. Somebody maybe with kind of like a spooky vision or an auteur vision, and I think Sam Raimi kind of falls within that same realm. So when I heard that, I was like, this is going to be cool. Obviously he reinvigorated superhero movies with the Spider-Man films. X-Men were there just beforehand, but Sam Raimi definitely put his stamp on it. So I'm a little worried because who knows what Sam Raimi we're going to get. Obviously want the first 2 Spider-Man Sam Raimis or his other maybe more quirky stuff that he did with Evil Dead. But he just had a movie come out. I don't know if he executive produced it or if he directed it, but didn't he just do that Grudge movie that came out like a few weeks ago that everybody said was awful? I think it got like the rare like F cinema score. I know
he's just a producer on that one.
Okay, so but Sam Raimi definitely has a vision. So if they're bringing him in for this movie, that makes me excited.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the last movie he actually did was Oz the Great and Powerful, and that was like 2013. So he hasn't directed anything in a while. But I mean, again, if you go look up the history, there's whole documentaries and stories on this. Like Spider-Man 3 was not his fault. Like that's like Sony's. Like when a studio steps in and is like, you need to do this, this, and this, or what we're gonna do whatever we want, kind of thing. Is his deal. So I think if you give him something where he can come in and be like, he's known for scary stuff, right? Evil Dead, Darkman, like Army of Darkness. Like he could come in and be scary without being like overly scary, if you will, and still keep that family friendly thing. And he's got the name recognition of Spider-Man 2. Now, this is going to tie into our next topic, actually, but we have seen some of the Spider-Man 2 stuff pop up in another film lately. And maybe he could bridge, if we're dealing with multiverses, can he bring in his Tobey Maguire Spider-Man into the MCU officially? With us.
I mean, God, I love the idea. Just geeking out about it in my head just sounds amazing, but it would have to be circumventing all things Sony. Because, like, it takes, you have to move heaven and earth just to make sure Tom Holland can be in your next Spider-Man movie or in your next Avengers team up. And it seems like if you're going to wade back and get more stuff from Sony. Now, what they could do is, I don't think it's against contract to hire Tobey Maguire, put him in a very similar looking costume, and put him in your movie, because, I mean, he just pretty much has the generic Spider-Man story. I mean, that's one of the benefits of Sam Raimi's Spider-Man story. It's pretty much taken from the comics. So you could pretty much mimic all of that without really having to reference the Sony original Spider-Man trilogy. So there might be ways around it, but wow, that would be cool.
Yeah.
I mean, comic books have been doing weird stuff like that all the time with alternate versions, bringing people in. I mean, it's just par for the course. So it seems like the movies would get around to it eventually, right?
Yeah, and then if you have Sam Raimi at the helm of that, I think it adds, like, I guess
prestige.
Yeah, authenticity to it. Like
Mm-hmm.
This was him wanting to do it how he wanted to do it, not the studio just doing it for fan service later on. So, but we'll talk about that other movie here after this. I want to leave it a little bit vague. But Michael Waldron, who is the showrunner and the creator for the Loki show, and also as we always say, a previous writer for Rick and Morty, will be overhauling the Doctor Strange script after Derrickson has left. So, if Sam Raimi, no one has said Sam Raimi is not in the talks. Everyone has really been down for this, even Scott Derrickson. So if they're rewriting the script, is this to help, I guess, bring in Sam Raimi and what he needs to do or wants to do with it, his plot points? And then, but it was previously written by Jack Schaefer, who's the showrunner for WandaVision. So they're giving these TV people a lot of stuff to do. It seems like.
Yeah, that's great. That's great.
Yep. And if Loki's dealing with multiverses, Mike, and they bring in the showrunner and creator to write about multiverses, it feels like it's there. Does that not make sense?
All the puzzle pieces are coming together.
Yeah, exactly. And then also, lastly, whether you like it or not, Rachel McAdams will not be in this movie.
Yeah, I mean that's one of the dings that I usually kind of give Doctor Strange's first movie. It feels very much like a standard introduction to a hero story, and usually what happens is there's always a love interest in there that just kind of gets pushed aside for good or for better or for worse, if you will. So unfortunately, I think Rachel McAdams is part of an old formula, something that doesn't really stick around anymore.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine. I mean, how long ago was Doctor Strange? It feels like it was forever ago. It was 2016.
He's been through a lot. Sometimes people change and the relationship cannot move forward. Rachel McAdams is a normal human that's saving lives on the operating room table. I feel like if Doctor Strange and her went out to dinner, where's the common ground? What are they going to talk about? Oh, I saved somebody's life today. Oh, I went to the multiverse and I saw time and space intersect, and wow, I got a lot more going on in my life than you do right now.
Right, and maybe she wasn't snapped and he was. She's got 5 years to move on in there.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
So yeah, that's fine. I'm fine with this. Move along. Give us a really cool Doctor Strange. I want to see his powers. I want to see more abilities, man. Those are so cool with him. Right now, Morbius is filming, Mike, and Morbius is filming in public. And right now, there are new set photos. I couldn't link them here. With buses showing the Sam Raimi era Daily Bugle icon on those buses.
Whoa.
Not the new InfoWars one from Far From Home. The original.
It sounds like we're leaving the realm of conspiracy theory and maybe starting to get into a real thing here. Wow.
Yeah, so this is one mark where it's in the Spider-Man universe. The second mark was in the trailer. We talked about this in depth. There's a Spider-Man image on a wall, and it is the Spider-Man 2 outfit taken from the video game, right? So where Spider-Man 2 is in the Sam Raimi verse. However, the trailer did throw us this third point as a curveball with Michael Keaton as the Vulture.
You can't. How do you explain the Keaton?
Right. So is this a Keaton from that? Could he be in the Sam Raimi verse? Is this in the Sam Raimi verse, Mike? And this is just a carryover where Sony's like, well, we're going to put all these characters in here and then we're going to let Marvel sort out their problems later kind of deal? Or, what is going on with Morbius? Where does it exist? Why is it using all this old data or old stuff and not the new stuff that they just literally put in their new movie?
Who knows? This movie can end up being really bad and maybe nobody cares about it and then we won't have to worry about this. But, it's conspiracy theories can be fun when they don't hurt people, right? So
right, but if they want to, you mentioned there's all this moving heaven and earth to get all this Sony Spider-Man stuff in Marvel with their new deal going on, and the fact that Marvel's like, hey, we got Sam Raimi here, maybe he can go over and talk to him about stuff he did. Like, is there something like? Is there like a love triangle going on we don't know about?
Something's afoot. It seems like something's in the works, and we just are at the very outside of it.
Yeah, we're seeing like hints of things, but not what's really going on behind the scenes. And I really want to know, man. I really want to know what's going on here. So I'm gonna keep my eye on this Morbius stuff while it's filming, see what we got, and where's it going with that stuff. And lastly, Venom 2 has wrapped production in England at the London studio. So, do you think they'll make an October release this year for it, or are they gonna hold off?
I don't know. I don't care.
But it's
Andy Serkis. Yeah. I know. I will have to wait and see what the trailer does. I feel like the trailer is going to be a very important moment for Andy Serkis to say, this is the movie that I'm making. But who knows? He might not even have final cut on what that trailer says.
Well,
but
as we know, Sony cuts a shit trailer. They even did it for every Spider-Man movie, and they cut awful trailers for those. Even though, again, I think we both, we're a little divided on where Venom sets. It's not the best thing in the world. It's not the worst movie I've ever seen, but that first trailer was even worse when they didn't even show Venom. They just showed an empty room and people flying backwards. And then the second trailer, like, oh no, actually that was Venom in here. It wasn't Venom. It was the other one that looks like Venom. Mm-hmm. That was a horrible decision all around. Like, we don't have the CG done yet, so let's just show them what we have without a Venom looking character. It's
one thing I haven't done. I haven't rewatched Venom since the theater. So
yeah.
Whew.
Well, I've listened to the soundtrack maybe twice.
Got to get that Eminem fix.
No, it's not Eminem. It's the other guys. Run the Jewels. That's the song I like on there.
Gotcha.
Venom 2 on Wikipedia says October 2nd release, and I just can't.
All right, if they say so.
I just can't see him doing
of this year.
Of this 2020? Year, 2020.
Okay.
And Morbius is on schedule for July 31st. So we go from July through August, September, then
maybe this is the plus side of hiring Andy Serkis. Maybe he just really understands the VFX pipeline.
Yeah.
He just really knows how to get that shit done.
Yeah, definitely. I'll give him the fact. I did like. I think you agree. The Morbius trailer, the reveal shot of him with the fangs and stuff was pretty good.
Yeah, that looked cool.
So maybe they're doing them live. I don't know. But 2 months in between them, I think we're gonna see, again, conspiracy theories. These movies are connected to something larger, and it's probably gonna be Doctor Strange. Watch them all be tied into Doctor Strange somehow. This is going to be a Crisis on Infinite Earths like the CW did, Mike. They just pull them all into one universe at the end of it.
Yeah, there you go.
So, I don't know. This is all confusing and crazy and interesting all at the same time, and I just don't know how to feel. So, that's fine. But we'll wrap it up here. Like Venom 2, we're going to wrap it up, Mike. If people want to know what you're up to, what we're doing, where can they find you at?
Oh, that's so easy to do. You can find me at Mike Royer Design on Instagram and Twitter. You can read my webcomics at pickledcomics.com. Chris, if people want to catch up with you, where can they find you?
You can find me on Instagram, Valdan87, or Twitter, Valdan, Valdan. Also, please come see me at C2E2 at the end of this month. I'm very excited to be up there for the weekend. Usually I get all my quote-unquote shopping done on Friday through the comic books and the artists. But and spend Saturday kind of schmoozing around, going to panels. But if you know any day you're there, let me know. I want to hang out with you, talk to you. We can take some photos, with me. Although you just probably have heard my voice forever. But yeah, that'd be about it. Mike, if people want to know where to listen to us and that Birds of Prey review, that the first half is spoiler free, where can they go listen to that at?
Oh, all you got to do is visit superheroslate.com. This is the best place you can find all the places we host our show and to get our awesome show notes. So if you want to see everything that we talked about this week, head on over to superheroslate.com. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, wherever else you love to listen to fine podcasts. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram, and get merch at superheroslate.com/store. We love hearing from you. Please reach out if you think you have a better idea of what those 2 mystery Marvel shows are on Disney+. What would you like them to be? Do you agree with Chris that we might be seeing a younger team-up movie? Do you think we're more than likely going to see Ironheart? What's happening there? Go confront Iger. We must know. Maybe you're his next-door neighbor. I don't know. Maybe you're really, really rich and you're listening to this podcast and you happen to live next to Bob Iger. Go knock on his door and say, like, hey, I got some friends that got to know something. But we love hearing from you, so please reach out. And we love our super fans, so if you want to be a super fan of this show, all you have to do is share the show with a friend, share the show with a buddy, and we will be here every week.
And that includes next week. We'll see you then.
All right, bye, everybody.
Thanks for listening, and don't forget to subscribe.
Tech Ambassador Chris Dillard.
Thank you.